Welcome to the Mental Dietitian Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Lynch-potter, and today's guest is a guy I wanted to have on for quite a long time. I first actually found out about this guy on a Being True to You course that I recently did, and I kept on seeing this guy talk about getting uncomfortable, and I found out he was in martial arts, and I started Googling his name, and I found out that he was in the UFC. And then I actually realized that I'd watched this guy 10 years earlier. Today's guest is Ian McCall, former professional MMA fighter, former UFC fighter. He has fought the best of the best in the world. He is now a psychedelic researcher. He now is talking about all these different things. He's at the cutting edge of this wave of psychedelic medicine. And I'm excited to have you here today, man. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I lived quite a life. I won a world title. I became the best in the world in a parking lot of an Indian casino here in Central California. And the UFC was looking to build a division for me specifically. I was supposed to be like the first Conor McGregor. This is before Conor was around. And I fucking dropped the ball. I was on heroin. So that didn't help. I got sober. I had a 20-year addiction from 14 to 34. And, I like to use my life and my career as an example of what not to do. I came out on the other side of this doing well. I'm one of the top researchers in my field. I don't do things half-ass. If I'm going to do something, I want to be the best. And obviously, I'll never be the best at psychedelics, but I'll be the best coach that I can. The two main people that I'm coaching right now, I kind of took a break from dealing with, addicts and taking in a bunch of people. I've got one pro fighter who is a bare-knuckle boxing world champion. We just won a title in May. And my pro surfer, George Gio Gomez. Mark Irwin is Mark the Shark is the fighter, and then George Gio Gomez is the surfer. He just beat the best guy in the world. He made it to the finals in El Salvador. He's on the Colombian national or Olympic team, I should say, for surfing. And whatever I'm doing is working. These methods are working. These medicines are working. I'm having meetings. I started my nonprofit here, Athlete's Journey Home, because realistically, I'm not an actual scientist or doctor. I'm a researcher, which it blocks me some places and frees me up other places where I'm trying to take on the athletic world from the front, just going, look, this is how we do these medicines. I know I'm not the only coach out there that works with athletes now. I like this. I was celebrated as the first, which, was I the first? I don't know, but it's a cool tagline. I may be the first at my level, the first pro athlete who was really preaching about it. And now I'm trying to set up I have set up, I just have to pay for it because it's expensive, an ayahuasca study for traumatic brain injury. Because that's where I started, was trying to heal my TBI. When I retired, I wanted to kill myself. I was on fentanyl and heroin and not the best version of me. So I went on this exhaustive search, much like I did when my daughter got sick. She got sick when I was champ with juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, and we healed her with plant medicine. We healed her with cannabis, and this was a decade ago.
Wow.
I've been using plant-based materials to heal people that I love for a long time. Myself, my daughter, my friends, my family. And then psilocybin came into my life, and I had already been taking psychedelics since I was like 12. I started smoking weed when I was 8, which is way too young. I don't say that to say, little kids should do that. But my daughter got high at 2, and she's fine. So I used the things that I learned in healing her to put on myself, and I advanced my knowledge in the scientific realm, where I learned everything I could. I read every single paper from every single person that I could, and it worked. I learned a lot. Now I'm working with Onaya Sciences for the ayahuasca study. and the University of Melbourne for the ayahuasca stuff. But then for the psilocybin, I've actually teamed up with University of Miami and ECP Pharma, and we are about to embark. We're probably 2 months away. The UFC verbally agreed to sending their athletes to the university post-fight. So it's an acute TBI study where within 3 days of the injury, the UFC will fly down the athletes to Miami, and they'll embark on a week-long psilocybin and CBD study, which is what I started with, because CBD and psilocybin are they go hand in hand. Two different inflammatory pathways, and it works magic. So, all these years later, I'm using the same thing I used to heal myself to heal these other fighters. And it's not just for fighters. If anyone's listening to this and they know someone in Miami, they're in Miami. Little Billy gets hit in the face with a baseball. Grandma hits her head in the bathtub. Car accidents, whatever it is, and you're in that area, you can go there and get paid. It's like $200 a day or something. So you go make a little money. You heal your brain, and you get actual data on your brain. They have all this novel testing equipment that I haven't even used yet. So I can't really speak on what it is, but it comes from like F1. It's a big technology F1 uses. So it's serious stuff. And that's my life's work, is getting the UFC to agree to this, because they took care of me when I was damaged, and I'm just trying to help the fighters. I mean, everyone blows a bunch of smoke at my ass and tells me, you're going to have a job doing this, and you're going to be the facilitator of the study, and the university and the ECP Pharma and the UFC is like, we're going to give you, do this job. And I mean, you're going to pay me to go to the fights all the time, like fly all over the country, all over the world, and go to the work with the fighters and be the face of this thing. You're going to have to pay me a lot of money. Like, I put it out. I'm like, I'm not fucking around. I have a daughter. I'm retired already. Like, I retired 5 years ago. I mean, I live in a little condo by the beach, but like, my life's fucking great. I'm a single guy. This is where I want to be. So for me to be taken away from my family and my daughter, I'd have to make a lot of money, and I'd have to still live here in California. I won't move to Vegas. But I say that, we'll see what happens. If I don't even get a job doing this, I don't care. My life is great. I teach martial arts every day. I have, my portfolio and everything that I'm fine. But just the fact that the UFC is going to do this, or they already verbally agreed, my job's done. I'm good. I have to help these kids heal, these boys and girls, these men and women that are climbing into a cage and fighting each other for blood money in their underwear.
Yeah, shit's no joke, man. Yeah, you said so many things, so many different directions I could go.
Yeah, sorry.
That's like, holy shit. Yeah, like, were you addicted to something your entire UFC career?
Yeah, well, I was addicted for 20 years. I got sober after my second bout in rehab, and I was sober for a year and a half, maybe. Then I relapsed and I overdosed and I died. I was in the hospital for a week. And then after that, I stayed sober for a bit. I signed to fight the best guy in the world when I was in the hospital. And my coach called, my agent called me. He goes, "Hey, you just had this fight back. You look great. Knocked the guy out in 2 minutes and 30 seconds. They're trying to, because I had a name from fighting in WEC before, they want to make a name off you. They want you to go down one more weight class, which was my natural class anyways, and fight the best guy in the world." And I was like, well, I'm in the hospital right now, but let's fucking go.
Let's do it.
Like 3 months later, 2 months later, whatever it was, I beat the best guy in the world. And then, the UFC contacted me and said, if you keep doing this, they were already my friends, and I already knew Dana and everybody from being mentored by Chuck Liddell, who's like an older brother to me. And they built a division for me, and it was my fault that I went in there and I started using again, because my first fight in the UFC, I fought Demetrius Johnson, as most people know, and I got screwed from the judges pretty bad.
I watched that fight. It's a very interesting fight. It was very close, but I don't know. I think that you might have taken it. And it's looking at where his career has gone and where it's like, you've probably done a lot of work on yourself. Did you ever have a time where like you were a victim around that and life happened to you and it didn't happen for you and you were like, fuck this shit? I would love for you to talk about that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's why Joe Rogan stopped talking to me. We were hanging out a lot. Joe's a really good person. I can't say anything bad about Joe, but I was part of that original group of people on his Fight Companions, and with Brendan Schaub and Eddie Bravo and Brian Callen. And Schaub's a douchebag, but whatever. He only reaches out when he wants something. He's a big baby, but and you get it why people like think he's a douchebag, because he kind of is. But Joe's a good dude, and I was a nightmare. I mean, like I don't know what I did. I still haven't talked to Joe, and I'm not really trying to. I mean, I'd like to get on a show to talk about what we're doing, especially with the UFC. But either way, I was that woe is me, I can't catch a break. After that fight, I went upstairs and I started doing Oxycontin again.
Like straight after the fight.
With my ex-wife, and she was already doing it. And that decision put me in a tailspin, and I was able to have some wins, have some losses, have some wins, have some losses against some of the best guys in the world. But literally right away, I was detoxing pre all those fights. I would have to come off of my painkillers a week or two before, and I was always like, okay, 1 month out, I'm going to get off these pills and I'll be fine. And then it was, okay, well, 2 weeks out. Oh, well, I have to leave tomorrow, so I'm going to just not bring any with me. And then I would bring some with me. And then I'd be fucking taking, 10 somas on my flight to Ireland or whatever, and just like fishing out in the airport or in the plane. It wasn't fun, but it's over. Thank God. Like people ask me, do you want to fight again? I'm like, fuck no. Yeah. I'm an adult. That's something I don't ever want to do again. But the addictions and the addiction to not just drugs, but women, to that self-loathing, just thinking it's, everyone's against me, and that sort of mindset. It's addictive. It is. And I had to break myself of that. I was torturing everyone around me, all these, women in my life, my mistress that I had in Vegas, it was why I was incredibly famous, to where, I would show up places and people were crying, women were crying because I was there. Men still have a weird reaction to me. I made a guy cry when I did jujitsu like a month ago in a little match.
Was that with that Smitty Witt kid?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was sitting out in front talking to this guy, and he starts like just getting, teary-eyed and all this stuff. And his wife was looking at me like, who the fuck are you? And I was like, I'm sorry, I have this reaction. I cause this reaction in men or just in people in general. And that's not me. I feel like, I mean, maybe part of it is, but because people saw me pour my heart out in what I did, but that's the UFC marketing machine. I'm not trying to make anyone cry because I'm there. That's a bit much. But it felt good. It felt good to have this human love, this interaction. When you're in an arena full of 40,000 people and they're chanting your name and they're watching you, the energy that your body stores like a pyramid, you're this energetic, like almost, I don't want to say source, but you're this thing, this person that all the energy gets put on. And if you can harness it right, if you can keep it going, you can bring it out, and it brings out this like astonishment in people. Like, who are you? What do you do? Like, how are you emanating this sort of energy? And it's like, I'm just me. I'm just the conduit. This is something that I receive from the love of the fans, because the fans, as Chuck Liddell taught me, he's like, you take every picture, you shake every hand, you look at people in the eyes, you have a conversation, and it's your agent or your teammate or your coach or whoever, your brother, they pull you away from the situation because these people deserve your shirt off your back, and you give it to them. The amount of shirts I've given away, especially to those women that were crying, I'm like, okay, I know you want to see me with my shirt off, so let me sign this real quick and give this to you. I'm gonna go, finish cutting weight, but you have a good day. Realize I'm just a fucking person. Like I'm just the smiling weird guy that is happy I'm here. I'm grateful to be alive.
Yeah. So yeah, I can't even imagine that feeling of like I watched it on Saturday night when Sean O'Malley knocked out Sterling, and he just stood there afterwards, and that feeling, I was like, that feeling is probably very hard to describe. And I heard when Israel Adesanya knocked out Pereira, and he said, I hope that one day you get to feel this feeling. And a lot of people don't get to feel that feeling. And I think that feeling can come from other things, but maybe not to that extent. Like 40,000 people, the spotlight's on you. And then you're basically, I think violence is the most intimate way, like in a non-sexual way, you can be with another man. It's if you get in violence with another man, it's extremely intimate, and there's a bond that you have with that person for the rest of your life. And it's, I don't know. I do jiu-jitsu. I've been doing jiu-jitsu for a few years. I've done competitions and things like that. And if after you have a really hard match with somebody, I don't know, you have a bond. Like you're trying to break each other's limbs, but afterwards you're like, man, that was fucking awesome. And
yeah,
combining all of that into one moment, then having a massive audience, I can't even comprehend what that would be like. It gives me goosebumps thinking about it.
it's a drug.
Yeah.
And for me, it was a drug I was chasing. And yeah, I've never found this sort of excitement. I've jumped out of airplanes. I've, done a lot of race cars. I've done a lot of very, very exciting things, and nothing gets even close to it. And you're right. You do bond with these people. You share DNA with them. You give you give a piece of yourself to these people, and as they do to you. So it's incredible. It really is. And just to think like I was able to achieve that. And it is an incredibly selfish thing to do, to become the best in the world at anything. Like that is extremely selfish. And you lose a lot of daily skills, of life skills, just trying to accomplish it. Like you don't know how to do a lot of things, and after is the problem. You have all this buildup, and if you're not settling into coaching like right away, even then, it's just confusing. That's a big mission of mine, is what's next for people. What are we going to do? What do you want to do? And the medicine shows them that it's most of the time it's go back to coaching, go back to your sport, mentor these other athletes that are coming through so they don't make the same mistakes you did. Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about that. I've heard people talk about a lot of pro athletes have a hard time. Like somebody wins a Super Bowl, there's like 80,000 people in a stadium, and it's just like, you're the fucking man or you're the woman. And then you retire from that. And then a lot of people, the best days of their lives are in the past. And if you're somebody that's talking about, if you're not excited about your future, you're already dead in a way. Like you've already lived the best days of your life. And I've met people that were high school athletes and they still talk about that. They never even did anything like, buddy, you should have seen me when I was 18. I was like, well, what about you now? You're 34, you're overweight. Like, stop living in the past. And I can imagine that being a pro athlete would amplify that by like a million.
Yeah.
How did you deal with like retiring as an MMA fighter 5 years ago? Like, how did you deal coming down from that high?
Almost killed myself a bunch of times. But the medicine showed me a while before I retired. DMT. I was with my brother, and he extracts DMT. He's been extracting DMT for like 15 years. And he gives journeys, he gives ceremony. I was looking for light and love and something, and the medicine showed me it's time to retire. It's time to grow up, Peter Pan, Count Chocula. It's time to move on with your life and to use mushrooms as the thing that helps you heal your brain. Now, I struggled and struggled and fought it and struggled, and I used peptides to actually get off of fentanyl and heroin because psychedelics didn't do it. And I wanted to make sure it was gone for good. So, injecting myself with peptides every day, which I still do a lot. And then, I went down the path. I didn't start coaching until ayahuasca, a few years ago. Like ayahuasca 2.5 years ago is what showed me, hey, why are you trying to be a businessman? I got my ass kicked in business. The psychedelic industry did me wrong, very wrong, many times. I don't want to say the community, because it's not the community's fault. It's the human condition. I was used and abused and lied to. I lost a lot of money. I've had people like Mike Tyson try and fight me. Just weird situations like that where things happen. I got burned a lot, and I finally listened, and I was broken. I was broken again, and I was just sitting there like, fuck, I'm not doing bad drugs anymore. I'm using psychedelics, maybe a little bit too much to integrate all this. But I finally, my very last night of ayahuasca, in 1 week, I was in the Yucatan, which is my favorite place in the world. We were deep in the jungles in this beautiful hacienda, the oldest hacienda in the Yucatan. It's called Chambalate. It's a 650-year-old botanical garden. It's the most magical place
Wow.
I've ever seen in my life. And actually, Arcana, the retreat, they're there right now. And I have this pull to go back there. I'm like, I want to go visit you so bad. But I shouldn't say we all took mushrooms on Monday. I took 20 grams on Monday. And I had just had a relationship fall apart. I watched someone very dear to me hurt themselves very badly, jump out of a window in front of me. And it was heavy, mental breakdowns and all this, not my mental breakdowns, but seeing this person that I love go through this was a lot. And the organization HHP, or Heroic Hearts Project, wanted me to be a coach. And I was like, I can't coach right now. I'm going to be no help to anybody. So they sent me down anyways. We did 20 grams Monday, ayahuasca Tuesday. Tuesday didn't resonate. Monday was incredible. The 20 grams was so healing. I got to meet my unborn son. My daughter brought him in the vision to me. And my daughter sent me on the vision quest. She said, you need to go to the jungles and do your medicine. The shaman brought her to me in the vision. She brought my son. And then my daughter had a dream that same night she was with me. So that started the week.
Holy shit, dude. Oh man.
Tuesday on ayahuasca, I couldn't connect really. I could see the shaman. It was like I was climbing through the forest trying to get at her. And I was blocked by vines, and she had her back to me, and she was just floating away. So Wednesday was off, and the proprietor of Arcana, his name is Jose. He's an incredible person. We sat down, we were smoking some mapacho, and he's like, you should do 5-MeO tomorrow, or sapo is what they call it, if you're a Mexican. And we did a sapo ceremony Thursday morning, which was, I love 5-MeO, I do, but it wasn't this crazy catalyst where I was like, oh no, I'm dead, and this wild demons and shit that most people see. All I had to learn was self-love. I've gone deep so many times with psychedelics that I don't always have these crazy violent things happen to me anymore. These really crazy experiences. It was, a simple lesson of self-love. So I learned self-love. Thursday, I had a great ceremony. And then Friday, it was the ceremony that taught me to fall back in love with fighting. I had relived every sparring session, every fight, every violent interaction I ever had in one night. And it was really intense, and I finally quit I was drinking double cups of ayahuasca and the 20 grams, like totally overdoing it. And the very last cup, they click on the light and Jose goes, all right, last cup of the week. And I don't know if you know who Roberto Duran is, the boxer, but he said no mas in a fight. He quit mid-fight. And I stood up and I was like, no mas, no mas. And I just beelined out of the room into the hacienda, this more open area, and just stared at the jungle. And I was like, I just quit. I was like, oh my God, I just fucking quit. And I had this like epiphany of, it's over. Who cares? You had to quit. Finally, I had to let go, and I had to fall back in love with fighting. And the medicine showed me you need to stop doing business for anyone else. You can do business for yourself. The businesses I own myself. They have my name on them. Do I work with other people? Of course, but this is my stuff. No one else can steward what I'm doing because it's me. Yeah. And it showed me I have to go back to not only teaching jiu-jitsu and fighting, but looking into kung fu, which I'm in a course with Master Shiheng Yi from the Germany Buddhist temple, which has been incredible. A good reminder of my kung fu roots. And now that's what I do. I get up early every morning. I go teach class or teach privates, and then take the day off, or take the midday off to eat, relax, do my consulting and my scientific work, and then I teach again at night. And that's my life. I'm so grateful to be able to share my knowledge, because as much as I know in psychedelics, I know way more in martial arts. That's like my thing. Academia is finally coming around to me. I've got like Harvard, Yale, Columbia, Rochester, and one more big university over on the East Coast that want to pay me to go speak on like a East Coast speaking tour. I laugh. I'm like, are you guys fucking serious? Like I barely graduated high school, and you want me to come talk to your faculty? I was like, cool. All right, how much are you going to pay me? I know that Harvard has like $90 billion in reserves. So I'm like, let's go. This is work. So yeah, now I've settled into my life of service. My life of service to other people, not to brands, not to building this gross industry of, pharmaceuticals and the, I like to call it the enlightening of the world, not the enlightening. It's a bunch of well-intentioned, and not even white folks anymore. I just call it the enlightening because it started with white people. It's colonialization 5.0 with no violence. You have well-intentioned white, black, brown, whatever, yellow, and they come into this with their education and with their unknown. A lot of them don't know they have this superiority complex, and the way that Western society just looks with their nose up down at everybody. Oh no, I work with indigenous folks. Look, I'm wearing this hat from and I have rape in this little bag. Would you like some? And it's just like, yeah, I would love some rape. You're saying
rape?
Yeah, I'm like, and I even hear like Aubrey Marcus say rape. I'm like, okay, call it whatever the fuck you want. I'm just speaking Portuguese word, anyways. That's what I'm saying. Like, oh, what's your name? Oh, your name's Abdullah. We're just gonna call you Abe. It's like that sort of thing, and it's that part leaks into obviously the Western business model, which is the industry. Yeah. And these people, like venture capital people, and even Maps is a CIA organization, and people don't know that, and it's been that way ever since. Rick Doblin works for the government, and that's how it is. He's justifying taking things like Soros money, and I don't, it's a larger organism that I don't control. I have no business in dealing with. I like being invited to the MAPS conference to have a free pass. I don't want to piss them off. But we have to understand these things, and the public has to know that this is going on, and they don't, so this industry is just weird. And I, as much fun as I have in it, I do like to just take a step back and just do my own thing.
Yeah. Yeah, you start following the money and you start realizing what funds what, and you're like, that's weird. Why do they fund that? And why does that own that? And then, like, why does the pharmaceutical companies own the food companies, and the food companies are connected to the insurance companies? And it's just all just, yeah, it's interesting. And what's interesting about plant medicines is I recently sat with ayahuasca for the first time about 5 weeks ago. And yeah, holy fuck, dude. Holy shit. That is unlike anything else. I've sat with lots of things, LSD, MDMA, psilocybin, marijuana, so many different things, but that was different. And that will show you things like that. It'll show you, like, hey, this is why this is like this. This is what is happening in the world. It'll kind of show you the truth.
Yeah.
And I wanted to talk to you about, like, your shirt you're wearing. And I saw Kendall Rusing. She interviewed you before your match with Smitty, and you want to do. You're basically researching ayahuasca for brain injuries. And dude, I drank ayahuasca one night, right? The first night, and I had like a canker sore on the inside of my mouth. The next day, it was gone. I had ringworm on and off the back of my head because I'm bald and I shave my head all the time, so I get it from the mats. I had it on and off for a year, gone within a week after drinking ayahuasca.
Yep.
Like, it's fucking crazy what kind of medicine that is. And what it did to my brain. I dealt with all kinds. I had a full-blown generational trauma where I had this stuff passed down from ancestors, and I was able to expel it, and it was just convulsing. It was amazing. And my brain feels different since then. And I'd love for you to talk about that a little bit more, because I know that you're wearing the shirt. You've been wearing the shirt everywhere. I follow you on Instagram. It's something that you're really passionate about at the moment. Tell me more about ayahuasca for athletes and what that's all about.
So ayahuasca, like you said, is so powerful. And we're testing everything. I'm with Onaya Sciences, and they're a group of young researchers down in Peru. They are the first PhDs of ayahuasca, and we'll be testing everything from fecal matter and gut biome to brain, blood, heart, all that sort of stuff. I mean, we're running the gambit of how this affects the body, because we have to. It's responsible. You know, it's not just like, oh, what happens to the one part of the body when when you ingest this medicine? No. These medicines give you so many amazing properties. They deal with the immune system. They deal with, obviously the gut biome. They deal with the process of epigenetic neurogenesis, which is, the brain healing. People have thrown up cancer, literally physically thrown up and seen like a black mass.
Yeah.
On home after that and be like, oh, I don't have cancer anymore. And a lot of these things are unexplained. We know they happen. It's no longer theoretical science, but we need as much data as possible so we can understand it better. And that's what I'm trying to do, is bring in world-class athletes. Out of the first 10 people that want to go down, that have said like, hey, I'm into it, I might do it, there's about 60 world titles in total, from fighting, all different types of fighting, to rugby, to race car driving and surfing. And it's wild how accomplished some of my friends are. And if you have 10 world titles, I just go, hey man, it's time to grow up. Maybe give these kids a chance. Like, you're old and I know it hurts, and let's move on. Or, maybe they don't want to. That's up to them. But I more or less want their stories, because they're going to come down. We're going to shoot a documentary, and we're going to give them a chance to tell their stories, because that's the most important part. The science we know is there. We have to collect the data. Won't be hard, but it's going to be pre and post, them telling their stories, and everyone has their own lane. We all have the lane that we resonate with most, and those are the people that will pick up your story, and you'll help them heal the fastest. eventually you can choose a different lane and you can go help out other people. That's totally fine and welcome. But the first thing you do is you, as I call it, the pollination effect. And as the researcher, I'm the queen bee with the information. I need these worker bees with blue check marks to go out and pollinate all the minds that they have, because people don't listen to doctors and scientists anymore. They listen to douchebags like me with a blue check mark. And now anyone can buy a fucking blue check mark. So that's dangerous. That really is dangerous. And people look at athletes with hope, hope from their mundane lives, things they could never accomplish. Or maybe they could, but they never will, because they're afraid to do what they want to do. And people wear your jerseys for their entire lives. They watch your games. They, reminisce about what you did. They know more about what I did in the cage than I do. Yeah. And to be able to connect to those people and show them that, look, your heroes are doing this medicine to get better. And you see what we do on TV, on replay. That's a traumatic event. What made us do this in the first place? Because we're all damaged children. How bad was life to make you want to be a fighter? What is the driving force? And to hear those stories and to realize that we're all affected with the same set of traumas. There's only a few versions of it. There's sexual, there's violence, there's emotional, and to show people, look, I went through the same thing you did, and I was able to accomplish this. And that gives them hope for their normal lives. Their, I don't want to say average, but yeah, I mean, whatever, average life. Yeah. Trying to live. They're trying to be the best bus driver in the world or whatever it is. And they can do that. They live a better life through that process.
Yeah. Yeah, I trained with a lot of MMA fighters. And it's funny, like I don't know. I have this thing that it sounds like you have it too, where people just get really deep with you very quickly. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. I have it. I have some version of it where I'll meet people and they'll just tell me things. And I don't know why I'm telling you this. Yeah. And a lot of the MMA fighters that I know, like I can think of 3 right now that have told me the reason why they fight is because they were sexually abused. And they said, if any man ever fucking does that to me ever again, that's not going to happen. And like them becoming a fighter is almost like this response to this traumatic event. So they're so unbelievably violent because it's like a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
Because like I've even heard Justin Gaethje talk about it. He's like, I can only enter that space once or twice a year. Like once or twice a year, because it's so much. And especially the way he fights, it's like, that's pure violence. Yeah. And to be in the space you're in is very unique. And I don't know, it's exciting time. You see people like Aaron Rodgers openly talking about ayahuasca and how it helped him. And the stigma around these drugs that people with drugs, it's really exciting, man. And yeah, like I've got friends that I do you know Bibiano Fernandez? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I train with him quite often, and he tells me his journey with plant medicines growing up in like the Amazon. He's from Manaus in Brazil, and it's very ingrained in the culture there. And it's like it's one of the reasons why he became a world champion, a 10-time ONE FC world champion. And he said it guided him, and it's amazing hearing these people talk about these things and openly talking about it with people, because it gets rid of the stigma. So I'm excited to see where that research will go. I wanted to ask you another question. Is there any concern that the more that we research this kind of stuff, the more that the colonialization industry will start wanting to make ayahuasca into like a pill kind of thing, like industrialize it, like tear down the jungle to get at it because it's such a miracle drug, like, or the way that they see it? Like, what are your thoughts around that?
It's happening. It's already happening. Yeah. We can't stop it. They're going to do that. And then it comes down to us as a society to figure out which version we want, because some people don't want to talk to you and I. Some people don't know about psychedelics and they don't care. They don't want nothing to do with it. They're good with their beer and their Xanax or whatever it is, or they're just, maybe they don't even abuse anything. Maybe they're just a normal, good person. They're just la, 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 la. But one day this doctor can say, look, we have an ayahuasca pill for you. This could heal. And it's got no psychedelic value to it. They've extracted all these sort of alkaloids from where now it's just this mundane thing that isn't what it's supposed to be. Different strokes for different folks, you know. I can look at ketamine. Working with ketamine really opened my eyes to middle America.
Yeah.
To where, again, these people don't want to sit with a shaman. They don't want to hear even anyone talk about light and love and yoga and, you know, let's balance your feminine and all this shit. They're like, you can fucking, I'm going to slam my door in your face. You start talking like that.
Yeah.
You know, I believe in Jesus. And you're just like, have this, you know, these people that don't give a shit.
Yeah.
They're good with their life. And maybe, you know, they're not living a bad, tortured life. They're just a normal person. And something happens. They get their medicine in the mail. I was the head coach for Being True to You. They talk to a doctor over Zoom. They get their medicine in the mail, and they can do it at home in peace. They can deal with their demons by themselves in the dark. And that works for people. It's an amazing you know, bridge. And as much as people like ketamine or not, I love it. I think it's a great medicine. You know, of course, have I overdone ketamine? Of course I have. I've abused every single thing I can in my life till it hurts. Yeah. But it's safe. It's very safe, and it works. I mean, thinking about like the violence and the different sets of people. I was with the Jews in Miami over this last week, doing a ketamine retreat with athletes and a couple autism researchers. Aaron Paul Orsini from the book Autism on Acid, he came with his assistant. And I had two athletes that I'm not going to speak on who it was, but one of the greatest of all, actually the greatest of all time at what he does showed up. And then another athlete who has serious TBI issues that we're helping him work through. And, you know, this was a Jewish setting. We had Rabbi Harry there, who is an amazing, I love having a rabbi to talk to. And then I was in Miami, and we were in this beautiful penthouse on the beach. And then from there, I went to Colorado, and I worked with the Christians, you know, and got to see the highest level of military special forces sort of people that, you know, killed for patriotism every single day they were on tour, you know, running, you know, 18 or 16 tours. And I even asked one of them, I was like, hey, I know that I don't want to be inappropriate. We're friends. Every story you guys tell me is about killing somebody or blowing up or blowing somebody or some crazy shit. Do you even have an idea of how many people you've killed? And he was like, no, why would I count? He's like, that's for your basic, you know, Navy SEAL and your basic Army Ranger and snipers are making a tally. He's like, I don't give a shit. He's like, I wouldn't want to hang on to that. He's like, I was on whether either 16 or 18 tours, you know, 4 months at a time or whatever. He goes, and I killed somebody pretty much every day. It's like, that's
holy shit, dude. That is heavy to be able to like.
Yeah. So you see the magic of how these medicines work with everybody, all walks of life. You know, we had other high level people there, and to sit in mushrooms and then to sit in MDMA and ketamine and to help extract, to hold space for these people. And obviously I'm doing my own work with them, but I'm able to handle it because I've been down this path quite a few times to help extract the words out of these individuals on their own. I'm just, as we learned in Being True to You, just the sounding board, the mirror. You know, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a psychotherapist of any kind. I'm not telling you what's wrong with you. I'm just going, okay, well, what about this?
Yeah.
Or how does that make you feel? Or so on. And I had one specific session with one of those guys, and it was so beautiful because, you know, thoughts come up and memories come up that they have stored. Their default mode network is packed in the back of their brain and they've never accessed since it happened. You know, being able to breathe again, you know, your body, whatever neural inflammation this person had from being blown up and having shrapnel in his face and all this crazy stuff. His passageway was blocked. We were talking about this earlier in the night, how he can't stop snoring. And, you know, all of a sudden, can breathe for the first time in I don't know, a decade or whatever it's been. So it's like you have these visceral reactions out of people, and the somatic release of the traumas and the bullshit, and it works for everybody. I mean, I'm gonna go do sweat lodge with the pagans, with the natives soon. You know, I make sure to sit with everybody. I haven't found a Muslim group yet that is using these medicines, but I will. I have Muslim friends who take medicine, but I like sitting with philosophers and those sort of people. So yeah, I'm just doing my rounds, helping everybody. I'm the guy that I don't discriminate. I work with just about everybody, unless you're part of that weird organization or the industry types. You know, the venture cap types. I still go to their parties. You know, I still get invited to some of their events, and I'm just like, hi. You know, I'd rather not eat medicine with them or drink medicine with too many white people. It's but I do, I'm half white, you know, so it's like you can't knock them all for it. It's just there's a certain brand. I'm if you go to those industries, you'll see them. They're wearing capes and they're dressed like the Illuminati with their hats, and they have all their, you know, appropriated clothes they're wearing, and it's like, and whatever they want to dress like that, go for it. It's nothing wrong with it. I just know that like I probably won't resonate with those sort of people, you know, and we all have our own groups, man. We all have to just get along, which is something you, as a whole, you do see people being happy and being nice to each other. And I mean, out of 12,000 people that I saw at Maps, I was doing business the whole time. So I would go to the lunch thing where there's thousands of people, and then I put my headphones in and I would sit at my table and I was just like, okay, I'm going to eat. And within less than 5 minutes, someone would look at me and they'd tap me on the shoulder and say, can you take those out? And I would take my earphones out, and then I'd end up having this amazing conversation with someone I would have never spoken with in the first place. Some young or old, male, female, black, white, whatever. I didn't meet a boring person. I met one weird person, you know, that I was like, I don't know if I want to talk to you anymore. But outside of that, but he wasn't like a bad guy. He was just very
just a weirdo. Just a weird dude.
Yeah. It was got this weird thing, and I was like, okay, well, good talking to you, man. I'm gonna hit stage left. But again, it wasn't bad, man. It was a beautiful experience. Um and this whole thing is just, it's advancing and it's changing. And yes, there's going to be some bad to it, but there's also going to be way more good to it. So we have to just say, okay, you guys want to make a pill and do your thing.
Yeah, it's I remember Trevor from Being True to You. He used a terminology which really interested me. He said that like these plants are a spirit and this is a technology. And he was talking about ketamine, MDMA, LSDs, like they're more technologies. And then there's things like psilocybin, iboga, ayahuasca, all these plant-based, which is more of a spirit. And when you remove, so you remove the psilocybin from the mushrooms or you remove the DMT from the ayahuasca, you're separating the spirit and the technology. And I think this is my personal opinion. I mean, the technologies are amazing. I've done LSD. Holy shit. As soon as I did LSD for the first time, I was like, I get why this changed culture. I was like, I totally get it. It's like synchronicity, and it was amazing. But I think that we have to make sure we don't get rid of the spirit of these plants, which are connected to the earth, which we live on completely. And that's what I see the danger of the industrialization of these things is the mail order ketamine, which is great. And yeah, it's like it works for some people. My personal opinion is I don't want to, it would make me sad to remove them completely and separate them completely without that connection to the land and the cultures behind it.
Yeah. And, you know, as someone who I grew up in cannabis, you know, here in Southern California, this is the Wild West for drug production, as you want to call it. And I totally agree with this as a native son. You know, I'm over 10% native Mexican. I think it's Aztec, but that's besides the point. I don't really know. Very, very spiritual and tied to the land. I was against synthetic things forever, but now doing consulting in the illicit psychedelic market, creating brands and chocolate and gummies and capsules and mixing things. You don't need to be connected to spirit like that every day.
No.
I feel like, because I think if you want to do big journeys, you do whole mushrooms, from the vine ayahuasca, real bufo. But for microdosing as a medicine, I think that, synthetic products have a much better shelf life. The efficacy of them is great. We know the potency with making natural products. They degrade a lot easier. They have a lot more mold problems. They have a lot of issues, and they just they hit you a little bit different. And obviously, I'm not gonna poo-poo any of them because they all work. But I think that separate times call for separate measures.
Yeah.
And it is. It's a big. I've tried synthetic versions of just about everything. And the natural side of it has a very different profile as far as the trip goes. That nothing is extracted. When you extract anything, you're burning off, some of the alkaloid profile or the tryptamine profile or what have you. So, I think that the industry of the illicit industry, the microdosing industry, is creating some amazing products. Whether it's a vape pen or whatever, or a capsule or a gummy, these are FDA level labs. Like the lab I work with, it's in downtown LA. You can do whatever you want there. It's in the hood, so there's no police force. And even the cops know where it is. They don't care. They all take the products. That's another good thing, is that I talk to the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Agency. I have friends in the CIA. I work with, a 3-star general and all these politicians. And the DEA specifically hit me up and they're like, "Hey, just so you know," they used to raid my house growing up because I was dealing all kinds of shit. Back then, even selling weed was illegal. So it was like, they were coming to look for that, and guns and all kinds of dumb shit that I was doing. But they told me, they said, "Hey, man, just so you know, we like what you're doing, and keep going. Just don't do anything stupid. Don't make us come for you, because we will have to." And that's why I don't sell a whole bunch of product. I take care of my clients, my friends, which is a lot of people. It is, but it's not like I'm not preaching it and I'm not going to everybody. People like me and the people that I work with, we provide safe medicine. I mean, my friend's daughter just died of fentanyl when she was only 14. She was not a fentanyl addict. Her stepdad's a junkie. Her real dad's dead, and was on drugs. Like, she would not do this. And she went to take a cannabis gummy because some creep was trying to sleep with her, and it killed her. And as the face of a nonprofit, as the face of one of the faces of traumatic brain injury science, I can no longer be the face of a gray market or illegal brand. But I can preach about it. I can tell people, just like I preach for my churches, my native churches that I work with. There is good medicine out there, and it's where are you getting it from? Don't buy it off fucking Instagram. Make sure it's attached to someone like me or attached to a larger organism, not some shady dude who's also got Xanax in there and in their profile. I'll sell you pills, I'll sell you coke, I'll sell you anything. No. That's how you die. That's how you get fentanyl laced anything. Because I've heard fentanyl laced psychedelic products now. And at first I was like, there's no way people would put fentanyl in psychedelics. And it's happening. So
fentanyl's really bad up where I am in Vancouver. Like,
yeah,
really bad. Like, there's kids dying all the time of fentanyl.
I've had, I should say, probably at least five people that I know die in the last year of fentanyl. And it is so scary because, you got to be careful. And luckily now, At first it was in cocaine. That was the thing that was killing everybody was, oh, these four comedians got a bag of blow and they went home in Hollywood to do some coke and hang out and talk. I mean, people should be able to do whatever they want. I'm not gonna, you want to do meth, heroin, fucking coke, do your thing. Just be safe. And now there's labs here in California that are creating drugs, any drug you can think of, kratom, psilocybin, cocaine, from yeast. From fucking yeast. It's wild. And you're getting these, sure, they're synthetic, but people are like, oh, well, I got cocaine that's fucking 100% pure. I'm like, no, you don't. It's a natural product, and that's dangerous because it's tied to murder and rape and child trafficking.
Oh,
and
dude, the energy behind that drug.
it's so bad.
Yeah.
It's so bad. And it's not healthy. Now, I'm not a person that does cocaine anymore, but the fact that synthetic cocaine, that is 97% pure, is out there. I've seen it. My buddy goes, dude, check what I got. And I was like, do you know what that is? He goes, oh, it's this pure blow. And I was like, no, bro. The real cocaine from the streets or from the South America, it will never be this pure. Okay, this is a synthetic product that you need to tell your clients it's synthetic and that there is no bullshit behind it. Because people need to be cognizant of what they're putting in their bodies, but not just the product itself, but where does it come from? Who's behind it? As a drug enthusiast and researcher, that makes me happy because people, humans want this, altered state of reality. They want to ingest things and have sex, or ingest things and go dance or talk.
We want to explore consciousness, man. That's what it's. We want to explore our own consciousness. And for so many years, people weren't allowed to explore their own consciousness. And we get to, it's happening now.
Yeah. And in droves, it's beautiful to see that people can find so many things to explore themselves and to learn about themselves, learn about others, and forgive, be grateful and forgive. Those are two things that changed my life. Every morning I wake up, I do breath work and meditation, and I do gratitude and forgiveness. So the breath work leads into meditation. The meditation starts with gratitude and forgiveness. And every time before I go to bed, the last thing I think about when I turn off my phone, lights, and computer, or TV, or I don't really watch much TV, but you know what I'm saying? When I shut down for bed, I roll over and I say, what was I grateful for today? And what do I forgive? What did someone else do? What did I do? And that process will lead you to self-love.
Yeah.
My mental coach, I forgot what her name was, or her title was, Lindsay Briner. I'm so in love with this person as a friend. She is so powerful, works with Deepak Chopra. She's a neuroscientist and works with Huberman and all this sort of stuff. And she's the mental coach of the flow state, stabilized flow coach for a bunch of billionaires up in Silicon Valley. And for her to impart this sort of process on me, and she has actual data on how gratitude and forgiveness changes your neurochemistry.
Oh yeah, it's crazy, dude. I've read about that. I've heard people talk about it, and a lot of people pretend to be grateful. Grateful is like, oh, I'm grateful. It's like, no, it's a feeling that overwhelms your body, as you know, and
Yeah.
it's sometimes it's hard for people to get to that place of feeling that, and then they'll just gaslight themselves into saying that they're grateful but they don't actually feel the feeling. It's kind of like talk therapy, but they're not actually feeling the feeling, so they don't actually ever heal. Saying
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
And teaching people to feel that, to really, really feel it. I'm lucky where I live here in Orange County. We always say behind the orange curtain, because north of us you have LA, which is a crazy liberal, just disgusting city. And I love LA, but it's filth.
Dude, I went there. I've only been there once, and I went to Hollywood, and I was like, this is fucking disgusting, dude. It was a shithole. It reeked of like desperation. There was people everywhere that were trying, like even on the streets, like just, I don't know, I had a weird energy. And I've only been there once. And then we went down to San Diego, and I trained at Jocko's gym, and I got to see like Dominic Cruz sparring and stuff, and like the energy in San Diego compared to LA. I fucking love San Diego, dude. It's cool.
Yeah, San Diego's still a shithole with all the homeless, and they're not homeless; they're drug addicts. Let's be
Yeah.
honest. It's another big liberal city that's going to shit, but it is a much better energy, like you said.
Yeah.
LA, I'm going to LA on this weekend actually to meet Deepak Chopra and do this
Oh,
stuff.
cool.
It's where my friends live. My family had a business in downtown LA for 50 years and a bunch of property. So we had a penthouse. So I was always up there. My friends all live there. The women I date there are all live there because that's just where I choose to date. It's where the prettiest girls in the world are. But with that said, everyone is tortured. Everyone is even my good friends I catch talking about their girlfriends or whatever. And I'm like, hey, no. Do not torture this young woman like you did the last one. Or, helping one of my best friends is gay. He's from Dancing with the Stars, and helping him through his gay process. Cause I'm not gay, but like just giving him clarity, like trying to be a person that's helping these individuals, because that's LA is part of me. I love LA at its heart, but man, it is in a bad state. And here in Orange County, we're protected. This is a very Republican, yes, but it's a very conservative area, and it's a bunch of well-armed conservatives of all races, of all religions. We all have guns. Nobody fucks with us. And here we have freedom. The amount of moms, the amount of dads, the amount of people that are taking, smoking weed. Like you go to all the retirement communities here, and they're the biggest weed consumers around. It's wild. They're all smoking weed. Everyone's taking mushrooms. Everyone's looking into plant medicine, and they're healthy. I mean, Orange County is a breeding program for the rich and famous. It's where you go to the beaches here, and every kid has abs, and they're built like brick shit houses, and it's just like this. It's a fantasy land. But outside of the beauty of it, outside of the beaches, how pretty it is, how beautiful all the people are, how much money everybody has, it comes down to education, and it comes down to spirituality, and it comes down to this. The moral compass wasn't always the best here, because it was a bunch of wealthy people who just thought they were better than everybody. And that's partially still here. But at the same time, people are realizing through medicine work that we have to do better. We have to lead. We have to take care of ourselves and take care of a lot of other people. And the kindness and the gratitude and the forgiveness and all those things we're talking about have really emanated here. I'm really, really proud of being from here and growing up here, because the people are just, man, they're great. It is really nice to be here and to raise my kid here. I'm very honored.
Looks like a beautiful place, man. I see on your Instagram, sometimes you sit on your roof and like the view from your roof. And then I sometimes see your stories of where you go on the beaches. And I've never been to Orange County. I've only been to San Diego once, and I spent half a day in Hollywood. And then I've been to Disneyland, and that's it. And I'm originally from Australia. I've lived in Canada for 9 years, but I want to go down and explore California more because I loved it. I loved driving through at the beaches. And I just see where you live, and it looks like a magical little part of the world. And might even come down and see you, man. Might even come down and train jiu-jitsu with you at some point. And yeah, dude, I just check it out. It looks really beautiful.
Anytime you want. I mean, I got a couch. My daughter has the other room, but this place is great. The food is good. Come in the summer, because the winters it's not chilly, but it's like we're not going to go to the beach usually and go jump in the water. That the summers are what's.
Dude, I live in Canada. Like,
yeah, we can go cold in the winter. The water's, it's 50, 55, 50 degrees. It gets a little chilly, but it is a magical place. It's the California Riviera from La Jolla to Malibu. You have the California Riviera, and it is just so picturesque. And yeah, I mean, one of my favorite things around here is the food. The food level wasn't always the highest, and now you go from all over California. I mean, really everywhere gastronomy is changing, but around here, it's nice to just finally have like so many options of food.
That's cool, man. What's one message that you want to wrap up the show with, or something you're excited about, or because I have a feeling we're going to do more than one podcast. I'd like to. You're doing all these different things, man, and I'd love to talk to you in like 6 months from now. Like, hey, how's that going? How's that going? So, what's one thing you want to kind of finish the show with? One kind of message or something that's on your heart?
Love. That's how this is all going to get fixed. It's unadulterated love is what we need to find within ourselves. It starts here. Everything starts here. If you don't take care of number one, you cannot take care of 2, 3, 4, 5, and a million. You can't. You cannot do it. And I see, whether it's Gabor Mate or Nelson Mandela or anyone, any successful person, they talk about, through the success of their lives, how the mistakes they made, how they didn't know their children enough, how they didn't appreciate their family enough, how they didn't love enough. They worked too hard and they forgot all this other stuff. And I've been there. So we need to really focus on taking care of each other and the love that we have. It only takes like 4 minutes, especially with kids. The first 4 minutes when they wake up, the first 4 minutes when they come home from school, and the last 4 minutes before bed. And that goes to children, that goes to the people you live with, your roommates, or the person you love. You have to give people time. Put away your phones. It's only 4 minutes. It's only 12 minutes a day that you have to spend taking care of this little person. Realistically, like, yeah, you make them food and you do other stuff with them, but it's 12 minutes of just pure love you give to each other. Will go a long way. That's really important. And the rest of it will come. The neurolinguistics programming of yourself and others will come. The sharpening of you as the blade. I tell all my students, look, I'm the blacksmith, you're the blade, and it's an honor to sharpen you every day. And that's what we're trying to do, is sharpen ourselves. But yeah, love. That's the main thing we gotta learn to do better.
Thank you, man. And where can people find you? Where can people find what you're doing? What's the best place to stay connected with you?
Ian McCall on Instagram. The McCall Method is my coaching platform, my for-profit business. And that's where we do research and where I run all my coaching stuff through. And then you have Athlete's Journey Home, my nonprofit. I tell people, even though they're telling me you need to raise millions of dollars, I'm like, look, I'm never going to take a salary ever, because everyone always gives me shit. How much are you going to make? I'm like, nothing. It'll pay for the office in my house. It'll pay for trips to go do medicine. It'll pay for dinners, and sure. But like, I'm not going to be the guy that's like making $250,000 a year from my nonprofit. My nonprofit will pay my for-profit an honest rate to coach whoever coaches for me, or me coaching. Well, I've already looked into all the conflicts of interest and how I do this. Like I told you, I had to create my own ecosystem. So Athlete's Journey Home, the McCall Method, and then Ian McCall on Instagram. They're all spelt out, and yeah, if you guys want to donate, thank you. If you want to donate time, hit me up. If you have people that have TBIs, the most important thing is send me your people with TBIs. The money I'll raise myself. But if anyone's hurt, and it doesn't have to be psychedelics, I can help you with peptides, with food, with breath work, with cold plunge, with whatever it is that you're comfortable with. I can help people. So that's my life's work, is just living a life of service and helping people.
Well, you heard the man. Go follow him. Thank you for being on the podcast today, Ian. I really appreciate it, and I know that we're going to do this again. Thank you, man.
Sure. Can't wait to have you out here, man. Thank you.